Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is having a great day. This is episode 23 of our Python series. Today we're going to be learning about if statements. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So what exactly is an if statement? An if statement essentially allows Python to run a particular piece of code only when a condition is true or is met. Let's start with an example so we can actually understand this. First, let's create a variable, let's call it age, and we'll assign a value to it, let's say 18. And now guys, let's say we wanted to check if the age of a person is an adult, right? So we can simply write if to create an if statement. It should be all lowercase, and then after that we can provide a condition right here followed by a colon. Now the condition to check if this person or age is an adult, we can simply put come here and we can say if age, and then we can say greater than or equal to say 18, and then we can actually provide the action that we want to take as long as this condition is true. So we can say print you are an adult, for example. And what this will do, this will say, hey Python, I want you to check if the value inside of this variable called age is greater than or equal to the value 18. If that is true, print you are an adult. So if we run our code, guys, you should see it prints out you are an adult, because the value that is inside there is 18, which is greater than equal to 18. So let's try to provide another value. Let's say, I don't know, 15. And if we run that, nothing should get printed out because we have not handled that condition. So this is how you basically create an if statement. Now, if we wanted to actually handle the condition where this condition up here is not true, here's one way we could do it. We could say if, or let me minimize this. We can say if age is less than 18, print you are not an adult. And if we run our code, guys, so we can come here, we'll say that you are not an adult gets printed out on the screen. And that's the basics of how you create an if statement, guys. Now I want to talk to you guys about something very important: indentation. Now if you guys look at the if statements we created, you will notice that there's a bit of spacing down below it right here, which I'm highlighting, and that is known as indentation. Python uses indentation to know what piece of code belongs inside of our if statement, or what action to take whenever that if statement's condition is met. So the spacing says, hey Python, execute this piece of code for me as long as this is true, right? Now if we tried to delete this, guys, and we tried to run our code, you'll notice that we get an error. Indentation error, expected an indented block after if statement on line number 2. And that's because after this colon, Python expects you to have at least a bit of spacing. So we could add like maybe 1-2 spaces right here. And if we run our code now, you'll see that it fixes that issue that we were having before. So by default, guys, if you are using a code editor or an IDE and you press enter after the colon, it will automatically add indentation or a bit of spacing to whatever piece of code you want to execute whenever the if statement is true. Now, let's do an experiment, guys. We can say something like if true, then we can simply press enter, and you can see my IDE automatically indents that piece of code for us, and we can simply type the action or what we want to do whenever that condition is true, and we can say it will run. And now if we save our code and then we press run, you will see it will say it will run. Yeah, so if we remove the spacing, it would cause an error within our Python code. So we have to add at least a bit of spacing in order for the code to run. So if we add a little bit of spacing and we run the code, you see it executes correctly. Or again, our IDE automatically does it for us. So we can press enter after the colon and it automatically indents it for us. Alright, so if we did something like if false right here, nothing would happen. And that's because, remember, when a condition is false, it will not execute. But as long as it is true, then it will execute. You can see it right there. So this is before and this is after. Alright, so I think you guys understand the concept of indentation. Alright, if-else statements. So what is an else statement? An else statement executes whenever a Python condition is false. So notice right here, guys. Let me get rid of this down here. Right where we are checking if age is an adult or if the age is not an adult, we actually have two different if statements to validate this. But instead, guys, we could actually replace this with an else statement to simplify this condition right here. So how it works, we could come right below this if statement here and we could say else, all lowercase, followed by a colon, and then again the indentation. When we press enter within our code editor, we can simply do print you are not an adult. And whenever this condition up here, guys, within our if statement becomes false, this will get executed. So let me run the code, and you can see you are not an adult. But let's say we put let's say age is 26, it will print out you are an adult. So guys, look at this right now. If you notice right here, we printed you are not an adult 2 times. So instead of repeating ourselves and writing a longer condition, we can use an else statement to check for the opposite condition whenever a condition is not met, right? So we can actually get rid of that, and if we run our code, it just prints you are an adult. But let's say we changed it back to, let's say, 17, and we run our code, it says you are not an adult. So that's basically an if-else statement. It's basically a statement that checks if a condition is false, and then it executes another operation if it is false. But the if statement only executes whenever a condition is true, while an else statement executes whenever a condition is false. Elif or else if statements. Let's start with an example. So let's create a variable, let's say score, and we can assign a value to it, let's say 85. And suppose we wanted to print out a message, guys, depending on the score. Maybe we print out you got an A, B, or the score needs an improvement. So we can say if score, and then we can say greater than or equal to, let's say 90, and we can say print you got an A. And now, guys, we can actually demonstrate the elif or else if statement. And the elif statement comes after a if condition. So it's basically saying, otherwise, if this condition above here is not met, then perform an action. So we can say elif, and then we can provide a condition, guys, followed by a colon, followed by an action, right? So for our condition, guys, all we have to say, let's say score is greater than or equal to, let's say 80. Then we can provide an action. So we can say print you got a B. And then now, guys, we can say else colon print you need to improve. And if we save our code, guys, and we run it, we should get you got a B. Let's see if we get that. Cool, nice. So, guys, basically the elif statement essentially allows us to perform another operation whenever a previous if statement is false, or we can use it to check another condition whenever a previous if statement is false, or whenever a previous else if statement is false. And let's actually change the score up here, guys, so we can demonstrate this a bit better. So let's say we put score equals to 100. It will say you got an A, right? And if we put, let's say, score equal to 50, it will say you need to improve, right? So the else statement, guys, it does not need a condition. It just does a particular thing when none of the above conditions or if else statements are met. So let's do another example of an elif statement. Suppose we wanted to give a C if the score was let's say greater than 70. So we can come right here and we can say else if. So we're basically saying otherwise if score is greater than or equal to, let's say, 70, then we can do print you got a C. And now if we change our score, guys, to, let's say, 75, and then we run our code, you'll see we get you got a C. So the elif statement or else if statement is pretty simple. It just performs another operation after a if statement or after another elif statement, as long as the previous operation or condition was not met. So that's else if statement, guys. Alright, guys, let's create another example. Alright, so we can have, let's say, username equals to admin, and we can say if username equals to, let's say, admin, then we can say print access granted, and we can say else if or Elif username is equal to, let's say, John. Then we can say print access disabled. Let's capitalize this. And then we can say else print. And then we can say unknown user. And then guys, let's so this is basically using the equals comparison operator to check if the value inside of the username variable is equal to a particular value or a user in this case. So if we run our code, it should say access granted. And let's change the username to John. And this elif statement right here will get triggered. So we'll get access disabled. And then if we change the username to something that doesn't exist and we run the code, it will say unknown user. So that's basically how if, elif, and else statements work, guys. Alright guys, I give you a challenge. Create a program that checks if the temperature is above 25. And that's it, guys, for if statements in Python. In the next episode, we'll learn about combining conditions and logical operators. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to smash the like and subscribe button. And don't forget to also leave a comment down below. Peace.